So Erin O'Toole's war against the conservative base continues for some reason, as he has demoted Pierre Poilievre from the role of finance critic and moved him to jobs in industry. The way these things usually work is the more general your role is as a shadow minister, the bigger the role it is, right? Everything has a budget, therefore the finance minister can touch on everything. The more specific a role is, like Minister of Veterans Affairs, right? The less things you can talk on. It's just pretty much Veterans Affairs. So that's, front to back bench working there. So Pierre Poilievre, the most popular conservative politician, has been demoted. And why? Why would Erin O'Toole do this? Now, there's two explanations. There's the Erin O'Toole's trying to win, but he's just messing it up because he's incompetent. And two, he's trying to undermine the party and move it to the left. Okay, argument for number one. And the way this argument number one goes is Erin O'Toole is jealous of Pierre Poilievre because Pierre Poilievre is his most popular MP. Think of how many viral videos you've seen from Parliament over the last 3 years from the Conservative bent. Think of what percent of them are Pierre Poilievre and what percent of the field. Pierre Poilievre would easily get more than 50% for most people. He's been replaced with Ed Fast, who is someone you've already forgotten by the time this video ends. Ed Fast was a McKay supporter. So interesting enough that he's not making this the Erin O'Toole loyalist party, right? This goes to option number two, that this is just party insiders. Now, O'Toole, suffers if he is trying to win. Right, the way he's trying to win is sort of becoming like the Erin O'Toole party. He's trying to win with his team and his people. This is not good because by de-energizing your base, you're losing a good amount of votes. And Erin O'Toole has done the Patrick Brown thing, which isn't going to work long term. The reason I was up in arms about Erin O'Toole, at the beginning, is because we all hated Patrick Brown in Ontario, okay? Patrick Brown ran in the primaries as did the true blue conservative thing. Courted the SoCons, talked about all his social conservative thing and how he's a real conservative. Wins the thing, immediately doesn't take out a knife, takes out a rocket launcher, rocket launches it into the backs of the social conservatives, undermines them, calls them names, kicks them out of the party. Then he becomes the first conservative politician in Canada to try and institute a carbon tax. And then he was, Me Too'd and something silly, and we got Doug Ford. Okay, now all the people who then stabbed Patrick Brown in the back and sent him to the wolves, they're now on O'Toole's team. So it's the Patrick Brown show. And O'Toole has done the same thing. True blue conservative without a history of being a true blue conservative, a history of being a red Tory, claims to be a true blue conservative, wins the leadership, now stabbing all the conservative part of the base in the back. So he sort of lied to them. People can see it. And he's relying on the I'm better than Justin Trudeau vote. He's relying on the you hate Justin Trudeau, so you have to vote for me, ha 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 vote. This is sort of his pathway to victory, right? If he's trying to win. It's the I just assume everyone to the right of center hates Trudeau, so they have to vote for me, and then I'll go as left as I possibly can and try and win people in there. If that was the real strategy, then the Conservative Party should have been open about it, and we should have just gone with McKay then, because McKay, doesn't have the pretended to be a conservative thing to scare off the left-wing people in the GTA. All right. Now, the other thing is, this is just sort of a corruption of the party wholesale, right? And the sort of evidence going to this is Ed Fast replaced him. Now, Ed Fast, it's interesting, and I saw this. He has connections to David Parker. David Parker was the person who was working on O'Toole's team who claimed, and I've seen the text messages firsthand, who claimed to have blackmailed Pierre Poilievre to prevent him from running from leader. So he had connections to O'Toole, he has connections to Fast, and for some reason, Fast gets Poilievre's job, and O'Toole's team has a history of threatening, allegedly, well, according to Erin O'Toole's team, they have a history of threatening Pierre Poilievre and with blackmail. So, did that have something to do with it? Does he just hate Pierre Poilievre? Is he jealous of Pierre Poilievre? Or is this a means to take the party to the left? Pierre Poilievre was the last thing standing in between Canadians and a carbon tax. It was a flimsy thing. It was just the shadow finance critic. But Erin O'Toole is there, and Erin O'Toole is pro-carbon tax. His entire team is pro-carbon tax. Yes, he said he was an anti-carbon tax, but then in his plan he had another carbon tax. So, price on carbon, whatever it is, Erin O'Toole's going to do it, right? Erin O'Toole signed on to the net zero, liberal, green energy, climate disaster thing. right? Erin O'Toole signed on to the bill C6, right? If your 12-year-old son says he's your 12-year-old daughter and you try and take him to a therapist, that counts as conversion therapy and it's a crime, right? All this nonsense. This is where Erin O'Toole's moving the party. So he's just slowly pushing it there. And I think that's the more reasonable explanation. I'll give you my thoughts after a word from our sponsor. Quickly, it's ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN, you know what VPNs are. We're journalists here, so they hide your IP address. So people can't figure out what you're doing. They cannot track you. You could pretend to be in Bulgaria. Who knows? So if you're going to get a VPN, click the link down below. Use ExpressVPN. Use the link we give you. That way we get money. And then we use the money to take over the world. Build a giant evil lair where Erin O'Toole cannot get in. Okay. So you have Poilievre being shuffled out. You have the carbon tax basically coming in. You're going to have, transgender children can't get therapy, blah, 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 blah. You're going to have all this. Now, Erin O'Toole, this is where it comes down to the election. Erin O'Toole is going to have to make the I'm better than Trudeau argument, right? He's going to basically say, you're going to have to vote for me anyway, on the right for Trudeau, and then I'm going to try and pick off the center-left. Now, I think he's going to fail because two things. One, if you're sort of running away from the Conservative Party and kind of giving into the idea that conservatism is bad, well, then people are going to intuit that liberalism is better and vote Liberal or NDP anyway. If you're, if you despise your own base, like no one's going to go with that. And if you despise your own base, which Erin O'Toole clearly does, well, they're not going to come out for you, right? They might just say, screw it, I'll vote PPC. Because what Erin O'Toole is doing now is, if you really, really, really... there's two arguments to vote against Trudeau. One is, I just hate his face. I hate that he's condescending. I hate wearing blackface. I just can't listen to him. He's such a selfish, entitled prick. Well, vote for Erin O'Toole. That's the vote for Erin O'Toole. There's a second anti-Trudeau vote, which is Justin Trudeau's destroying the country. Justin Trudeau is taking us over the cliff at 100 miles an hour, and we have to stop this, right? All this stuff where the free speech, the crazy taxes, the debt, all this type of far-left corruption of society, we need to stop that. Erin O'Toole is saying, I'm not going to drive the car over the cliff at 100 miles an hour. I'm going to drive the car off the cliff at 93 miles an hour. So that's not going to be good enough to the second crowd, who might just look for someone. I want someone to stop the car or turn it around. So this is the problem Erin O'Toole faces. He's basically a lame duck. There would be an election this year had Trudeau managed to get more than 17 vaccines into the country last week. But, it looks like we're stuck with these two idiots and the Calistani guy and New Tree Lady, who seems okay. And Yves-François Blanchet to sometimes call out the Islamists. What a lovely system Canada has.